as well. So diving a bit deeper into keywords, when you're writing out the content under each job, it's important to elaborate on what you do on a daily basis, because if you're looking at other roles, we look at the keyword function. So I put down here at the bottom a snapshot of really what a job description could look like. So this may be an example of, this could be a Certara job description or any other company out there. Having keywords that I've highlighted in yellow, you can make sure that they're in your profile. And when we're searching for these, your profile will pop up at a higher search result if you have these that correlate to what we're searching for. So moral of the story, if you have experience with these skills or have worked in certain modeling software, just make sure it's represented in the body of your day-to-day duties, and it will get seen a lot quicker. All right. Building your network on LinkedIn. So after your profile's been built, now it's time to really leverage it to work to your advantage. Building your network of connections is almost just as important as the profile itself, and it has to be thoughtful and intentional when you do this. You don't need to be connected with everybody that you see on LinkedIn. Otherwise, you'll just start to see what's showing up in your LinkedIn feed may not be relevant to what you want to see, or it doesn't benefit you at all, and you'll find the content isn't really relevant to your interest altogether. So be calculated when accepting connection requests or reaching out to connect with somebody. So when I connect with somebody, I try to think about first if there's some meaning to the connection request. Will it be mutually beneficial to be connected to them? Do they share a similar interest? Are they in the same industry where we might share similar content? Is it a former coworker, a friend, maybe a potential hiring manager within, or a leader within the industry that you're in? And being a recruiter, it's a little bit different. I feel like I'm connected to so many people because I'm always talking to different backgrounds with different positions. But if you're a scientist, it may not make sense for you to be connected with a graphic designer in another company who you've never had any interaction with at all. Not that you can't, it just may not be something that you want to target in your network. Also, leveraging the professional groups on LinkedIn, I think, is really important. I spoke a little bit about it earlier. For example, ISOP has a LinkedIn group where you can join. They may have job postings. They'll share conferences, webinars, and then you can meet other people like yourself that have a mutual skill set. ASCPT is another one. There's so many out there. And as I said earlier, we can search based on the groups that you're in. So if I want to talk to somebody who is in the ISOP group on LinkedIn, I can search that and it will pull everybody who's a member of that group. So how do we engage on LinkedIn? Now that you have a profile, you started building your network, it's important to properly engage. So how can we engage? There's so many different ways on LinkedIn, and some are good, some are probably not the most beneficial, but there's so many ways to show that you're connected, and I'll go through. One is an example of celebrating others' achievements. You may see somebody get promoted on your LinkedIn wall or your feed. We see them all the time. Maybe they've hit their work anniversary, or they took a new role at another company, and you want to congratulate them. People love getting recognition for their work, even if it's not from a supervisor, just somebody in the same space as them. You can like their post, you can share it, you can send them a private message. Even if it's just a like, it's going to show up in the LinkedIn feed. So if you just click like, it's giving that promotion that they had a larger reach, and it really just keeps the conversation going, and they like to see that, and that might help them get some more connections and recognition that they may not have in their network because you do. All right. Other ways to engage are liking and sharing content or commenting on content. I like to share a lot of professional development articles. I'm really into how to work better from home, since that's the new day and age of what we're dealing with now. There's a lot of articles on how to maximize your productivity at home. If I see an article like that, I'm all about it. I'm going to like it. I'm going to I'm going to share it if I think it's going to be relevant to what my network is going to want to see. If you like something, the impact of that, it's okay to do that. It's going to show up in your feed, but if you share something, the share feature might look like you're a little bit more passionate about it. So the articles that I see that I really like, I'll often share it with maybe a comment, a hashtag, or something of that description. Yeah, sharing, it does come across that you're a little bit more passionate, but one thing people get caught up in is the commenting. And I wanted to share an example recently with the recent share from the FDA on the new medication for the Alzheimer's disease. That's a pretty big one that's caused a lot of controversy. So I think it's something to talk about when wanting to say certain things on social media that may impact your brand in a negative way. This is a great example of where some people, I feel like, said too much. Not just this post particular, but if it's controversial in any way, former supervisors or future supervisors or any coworker, they can see what you commented. So as soon as you comment, it does show up in the newsfeed of who you're connected with. And I don't think it's a problem to be vocal about your opinions, but there is something to be said for having a more tactful tone, even if it's something that you feel passionate about, because that does reflect you as a person on how you handle controversial opinions like what is going on with the FDA drug now. So I'd encourage you to go look on there. You can probably pick out a few comments that probably weren't the most appropriate. And that's what you want to stick away from. It does tend to set your tone moving forward. Professional development. So a little bit of a break from social media because I know we're getting close to time at 10:50. Professional development is something that you can control. You know, I think people say that they can't really advance in their career because they haven't had the exposure or they haven't been given the opportunity to get exposed to certain things. But there are certain things you can do to set yourself apart. Aside from knowing the actual education or degree or requirement in the work field you want to work in, there's some other shorter term options of professional development at your fingertips now. And there are so many different webinars like what we're on now. Could be a useful tool, but often there's some that are free that are more specific to technical or scientific skills that we may not have been able to get in the workplace. It could be related to a specific modeling software or a particular technique within model-informed drug development. Often when you follow companies on LinkedIn, you'll see different webinars that they share. I know Certara does a lot of this, other companies do as well, where you can register and get some free learning out of it. And depending on the industry, there's other boot camps or workshops that you can look up online where you can take a class and put on your resume. For example, one that's pretty related to this field, I know that there's some R programming boot camps or workshops that you can do where you can put on your resume to get some experience. But lastly, think about things you can do in the workplace itself. Maybe it could be something that's a little bit outside of your normal scope of work. Most of the time, managers are really big supporters of developing their people. You know, talk to them about some of your interests and they might be able to set you up to speak with a leader on another team and get you some exposure, or perhaps just get you involved with another scientist in another function. I had recently spoke with a candidate on the phone a couple of weeks ago who primarily had a clinical pharmacology background, and they wanted to learn more of the pharmacometric side. And they had little by little started getting involved with some pharmacometrics work simply just by asking if they could sit on some meetings or some projects to learn. And this type of initiative is where you're going to start getting some real world experience that you can put on your resume. So professional development never stops. It's something that you can control. There's people who've been doing this for 30 years and still want to continue to learn new technologies, and they're still learning. They haven't stayed stagnant, and specifically in this industry, science is ever evolving. So is our continual learning and development. So I would definitely encourage that that piece of it as well, since you can control that. And I will go ahead and pass the final bit off to Emily for us to close up today.
Yeah, and Look, our last slide is just your homework. When you come back to our next session, I actually want to spend our next session doing more Q&A and less presentation if we could. I actually would love to have people pepper us with questions because we're run out of some time. Sketch out a career plan, revise or write a resume, and start to build your social media connections. One of the best places to start is send Lee and I a LinkedIn invite today, right? If you attended today's meeting, your first step is to send us a LinkedIn invitation and we'll connect. That's one of the places where it works out. But I want to see what we can give 6 minutes worth of questions. Go.
Hi. So I would like to give, I think our panelists, Ping, you have a question.
Yes. I'd like to thank you, Emily and Lee, for such an informative presentation you guys put together. It made me think a lot during the presentation, and I have a question regarding to the social media engagement. Could you provide some advice on proper ways of advocating your own accomplishments and career milestones on social media, like LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. And can I answer, and I'll let Lee jump in on this too. We're going to answer 2 questions at once because I saw someone else come in too, which is there's lots of social media. You have to make a personal decision first on which ones you want to be on personally versus professionally. So someone said, what about Twitter? Twitter, I think, dances the line between professional and personal. Then there's Facebook, there's Instagram. Believe it or not, there's people on Pinterest and things of that nature. I am not a millennial. Can't even say millennial. I don't do Facebook professionally. I don't do Instagram professionally. I do LinkedIn because that's my space where I live as a pro. So that would be my question on that one. In terms of, this is a thing I think all scientists have, is you guys don't like to shout about yourselves. You don't like to overstate because you're always somewhere in your mind going, yeah, well, it wasn't 100% right. I was 99.675% right. But that last 0.3 something eats at you. You're close enough when you talk about achievement. If you were a member of a team who's done something great, I find it's often easier to crow about yourself when you crow about others. So if you go on LinkedIn, for example, and you've put together a webinar, you want to share something, you can write, proud to be a member of a team that did X, Y, Z, right? So proud of the blank work I did to help our team achieve this. So is what did I do that helped us, right? I think sometimes when you can build that bridge, it helps show I can do it and I helped others at the same time. I wasn't, alone. Lee, go ahead. I'm sorry. I saw you about to talk and I jumped in.
No, that's all right. I think it's a great question. People are sometimes scared to talk about their achievements, and they're worried that it may make them sound like they are a little bit too proud. But I think that's what keeps people going. People love getting encouragement, and that's a big motivator for a lot of people. So yeah, share it all the time. I see people when they complete a certification, they'll share their completed certification on LinkedIn. I love seeing that. And then, like I said earlier, just like it, and it goes to your entire feed. Everybody can see it, and or you can comment for a better reach saying congratulations. And Emily brought up a point too. I've seen hiring managers who are celebrating their team on LinkedIn as well. They'll share some kind of an image where it says, "Thank you, John Doe, for helping me achieve this project. It wouldn't have gone as well without you there." And they'll share things like that. No, I think that's something LinkedIn needs more of, to be honest. Great question.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the answer.
Sure.
Other questions? I have 2 in front of me I can answer while we're looking for the next one if you need to. Go ahead. I have a question that someone said, if one applies to a job online, besides experience, what would make a resume stand out in the initial screening? So first and foremost, I will tell you, if your experience doesn't line up to the requirements of the job, there's always a section on a job posting that says requirements. It usually is a set of educational backgrounds that you need, or you need to have actually done A, B, and C. So a certain level of experience you need to have done. If you don't meet those, there's very little you can do on a resume that will actually get you past that gateway. Those requirements for us as recruiters are legal, they're legal questions for us, right? We will, if a job requires you to have a PhD, and that's what the manager has done, we won't take another. You must have to have, it has to have a PhD, then we're only going to look at PhDs. You're going to say to me, but I've got all of this experience. I'm going to say to you, you are 100% right. But unless we make that a preferred requirement versus a requirement, we can't consider you for the job. So we will make a knockout there. So otherwise, what you want to look for when you're looking at experience is to make sure what you align yourself to doing aligns to what's in that job description, and make it real easy for Lee and I to go, I need somebody with this, with non-M experience. I want that, I'm gonna put it here. I want them to have done the non-compartmental analysis. Does it say it? Does it say it? I want to see it from one to the other. Those would be the things I would highlight. The other thing that makes you stand out if you're in the field of people and you meet experience, I will say your ability to tell your story is critically important. So how you write your profile statement around who you are, how it summarizes everything below, kind of speaks to who you are. The other piece around that is around ensuring that you highlight your contributions in your work in the bullets that are listed below. So very similar to the same thing we just said that you do on LinkedIn or you do on social media, is there, you just don't say the words very proud in the front of it, right? You don't soften it. Instead, you list it as an achievement. As a member of such and such project, I led the following work and we achieved blank. Done. That's what I did, right? Conducted this many analysis in a year that resulted in this. Like, what we want to know is, what did you do? What was resulted? What were you wanted to do? What it resulted? Those will help.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Lee, Emily, gallery, panel.
Oh.
We are at the top of the hour, so we've run out of time. There are other questions, but I would recommend everybody put a pin in those, because next time we're going to allow a bit more time for Q&A so that everybody's questions can get answered. But really appreciate everyone's active participation, and especially Lee and Emily sharing their experience and insights. So thanks all, and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you so much, and look forward to next week's webinar too.
Yes. Thank you for having us.